2 Samuel, chapter 19. And it is declared to Joab, Behold, the king is weeping and mourning for Absalom. And the salvation on that day becomes mourning to all the people, for the people have heard on that day, saying, The king has been grieved for his son. And the people steals away on that day to go into the city, as the people steal away who are ashamed in their fleeing in battle. And the king has covered his face. Indeed, the king cries with a loud voice, My son Absalom, Absalom, my son, my son. And Joab comes into the house of the king and says, Today you have put to shame the faces of all your servants, those delivering your life today, and the life of your sons and of your daughters, and the life of your wives, and the life of your concubines, to love your enemies, and to hate those loving you. For today you have declared that you have no princes and servants. For today I have known that if Absalom were alive, and all of us dead today, then it were right in your eyes. And now rise, go out and speak to the heart of your servants. For I have sworn by Yahweh that if you are not going out, there does not lodge a man with you tonight, and this is worse for you than all the evil that has come on you from your youth until now. And the king rises and sits in the gate, and they have declared to all the people, saying, Behold, the king is sitting in the gate. And all the people come in before the king, and Israel has fled, each to his tents. And it comes to pass, all the people are contending through all the tribes of Israel, saying, The king delivered us out of the hand of our enemies. Indeed, he himself delivered us out of the hand of the Philistines. And now he has fled out of the land because of Absalom. And Absalom, whom we anointed over us, is dead in battle. And now, why are you silent to bring back the king? And the king sent to Zadok and to Abiathar the priest, saying, Speak to the elderly of Judah, saying, Why are you last to bring back the king to his house, since the word of all Israel has come to the king, to his house? You are my brothers, you are my bone and my flesh. And why are you last to bring back the king? And say to Amasa, Are you not my bone and my flesh? Thus God does to me, and thus he adds, If you are not head of the host before me, instead of Joab, for all the days. And he inclines the heart of all the men of Judah as one man, and they send to the king, Return, you and all your servants. And the king turns back and comes to the Jordan, and Judah has come to Gilgal to meet the king, to bring the king over the Jordan. And Shimei, son of Gera the Benjamite, who is from Bahurim, hurries, and comes down with the men of Judah to meet King David. And 1,000 men are with him from Benjamin. And Ziba, servant of the house of Saul, and his 15 sons and his 20 servants with him. And they have gone prosperously over the Jordan before the king. And the ferry-boat has passed over to carry over the household of the king, and to do that which is good in his eyes. And Shimei, son of Gera, has fallen before the king in his passing over into the Jordan. And he says to the king, Do not let my lord impute iniquity to me, neither remember that which your servant did perversely in the day that my lord the king went out from Jerusalem, for the king to set it to his heart. For your servant has known that I have sinned, and behold, I have come today, first of all the house of Joseph, to go down to meet my lord the king. And Abishai, son of Zeruiah, answers and says, Is Shimei not put to death for this, because he reviled the anointed of Yahweh? And David says, And what do I have to do with you, O sons of Zeruiah, that today you are for an adversary to me? Is any man put to death in Israel today? For have I not known that today I am king over Israel? And the king says to Shimei, You do not die. And the king swears to him. And Mephibosheth, son of Saul, has come down to meet the king. And he did not prepare his feet, nor did he prepare his upper lip. Indeed, he did not wash his garments, even from the day of the going away of the king until the day that he came in peace. And it comes to pass, when he has come to Jerusalem to meet the king, that the king says to him, Why did you not go with me, Mephibosheth? And he says, My lord, O king, my servant deceived me. For your servant said, I saddle the donkey for myself, and ride on it, and go with the king, for your servant is lame. And he utters slander against your servant to my lord the king. And my lord the king is as a messenger of God, and do that which is good in your eyes. For all the house of my father have been nothing except men of death before my lord the king. And you set your servant among those eating at your table. And what right do I have any more, even to cry any more to the king? And the king says to him, Why do you speak any more of your matters? I have said, You and Ziba share the field. And Mephibosheth says to the king, Indeed, let him take the whole, after that my lord the king has come in peace to his house. And Barzillai the Gileadite has gone down from Rogelim and passes over Jordan with the king, to send him away over the Jordan. And Barzillai is very aged, a son of 80 years, and he has sustained the king in his abiding in Mahanaim, for he is a very great man. And the king says to Barzillai, Pass over with me, and I have sustained you in Jerusalem with me. And Barzillai says to the king, How many are the days of the years of my life, that I go up with the king to Jerusalem? I am a son of 80 years today. Do I know between good and evil? Does your servant taste that which I am eating and that which I drink? Do I listen any more to the voice of male and female singers? And why is your servant for a burden to my lord the king any more? As a little thing your servant passes over the Jordan with the king. And why does the king repay me this repayment? Please, let your servant turn back again, and I die in my own city, near the burying place of my father and my mother. And behold, your servant Chimham, let him pass over with my lord the king, and do to him that which is good in your eyes. And the king says, Chimham goes over with me, and I do to him that which is good in your eyes. Indeed, all that you fix on me, I do to you. And all the people pass over the Jordan, and the king has passed over, and the king gives a kiss to Barzillai and blesses him, and he turns back to his place. And the king passes over to Gilgal, and Chimham has passed over with him, and all the people of Judah. And they bring over the king, and also the half-tribe of the people of Israel. And behold, all the men of Israel are coming to the king. And they say to the king, Why have our brothers, the men of Judah, stolen you? And they bring the king and his household over the Jordan, and all the men of David with him. And all the men of Judah answer against the men of Israel, Because the king is near to us. And why is this that you are displeased about this matter? Have we eaten of the king's substance at all? Has he lifted up a gift to us? And the men of Israel answer the men of Judah and say, We have 10 parts in the king, and also more than you in David. And why have you lightly esteemed us, that our word has not been first to bring back our king? And the word of the men of Judah is sharper than the word of the men of Israel.